Today's your day.
Your day. Our day to
know your worth.
To know your worth. Today's your day to know your worth. Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
We're so geeky. Oh well. Okay, let's start.
Okay.
So we've been talking about knowing our worth, right? And how sometimes when you grow up and the people around you kind of have a role for you or a specific way that they want you to be, you believe them. You live your life as if they're right.
Totally.
Into your adult years.
Yeah, I think we were saying they put you in a box and there's a big heavy lid on that box.
There's a lid, yeah.
Maybe it's not that heavy, but you feel like it's really heavy. You just can't push your way out.
Yeah. And you're like, this is as much success as I deserve. This is as much happiness as I deserve. This is as much love as I deserve because that's what I was told.
You can get a good job, but not a great job.
A good job. Sure, you can be comfortable, but you're not going to be enjoying your life.
You can have a marriage, but there better be some problems.
Better be some problems. How's old so-and-so, that old ball and chain? Well, I think culturally we just expect there to be a little bit of problems and a little bit of things aren't working out for you.
And sometimes, like, what I found is that when I'm going through a lot of really hard stuff, suddenly I have, like, all these people that are there and they're like, oh, don't worry, like, you're fine. And then when things start to go really, really well, they're not there anymore. Yeah.
Because there's no purpose for them to be there. They came to save you.
Yeah.
And if you're saved, so I have the opposite problem.
Oh.
When I'm doing really well, I'm surrounded by people and people want to hang out with me and people want to take me for coffee and people want to like ask me questions and they want to come to my...
Nice.
It's awesome, except for when I'm not doing that well. Then it's really freaking lonely.
Yeah.
Because it's just me by myself with my like, you know, blankie and my fireplace feeling sorry for myself and feeling lonely. And part of... So what I've learned in the last year is that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to ask for help. And I don't always have to have on this mask of, I'm okay, everything's fine. That I can actually say, hey guys, I might not be like putting on the next event, but can you just come hang out and have a coffee? Like for fun.
Yeah, so that's really interesting because as you were talking, I was just picturing that, you know, when I'm not doing so well, maybe I reach out a little bit more. Maybe I find that I allow myself to be vulnerable because I think it's okay to ask for help. And when I'm doing really well, that's a scary thing. And so I just like put on my blinders and I work.
So maybe we can help each other.
Yes.
Jenna?
And I wonder if for you, when you're not doing so well, you tend to retreat. Whereas
totally.
So I'll reach out and you retreat. And then when you're doing really well,
that's when I want to reach out and be like in the world and like, come look at me, come hang out with me. And I bet you those patterns were something that we learned really from like watching the adults in our environment when we were kids.
Yes.
Right?
So then if we're talking about our own issues, then it seems like really the problem is not everyone around us. It's not everyone around us that suddenly leaves when I'm successful and leaves when you're down. It's us.
Clearly. Clearly, we are the problem. Clearly. But that's the thing, right? It's easier for us to blame the world and say, oh, nobody's here for me and I'm having a hard time, or nobody's here for me because they think I'm so busy, rather than being reflective and saying, oh, but wait a minute, what am I doing to actually push people away and not make myself available to them? And you know, the thing about vulnerability, I think there's a difference between being needy and being vulnerable.
Yes, you are so right.
Right?
That's the difference, Dr. Saira.
Okay, right? Because when we were talking just before, like, is there such a thing as too vulnerable?
Yeah.
And I think that I would define that as actually needy, where it's like, I need you to give me something, fill up my tank, I'm so broken, fix me, oh my God, it's so hard, I want you to do... Rather than just, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm going through, I'm going to let you see that it's not easy for me, but I don't need you to fix it or do anything. I just want you to be with me through it.
So it's that level of expectation that you put on someone else.
Yeah. And, you know, independent people don't like being around needy people.
No.
And often needy people will find independent partners.
Yeah. And then there's that
cycle,
the pursuer distancer cycle, where I'm pursuing because he doesn't seem to...
Yeah, he just keeps moving forward. There's a dance, right? You take one step forward and he takes one step back and then another step. And then sometimes we flip roles.
Yeah.
Right? And I think we can do that in a really healthy way where there's naturally in a relationship there will be moments where one person's leading and moments where another person's leading. But that can also become really unhealthy where there's one person who's like always needing, always clinging, always asking, always broken, always in drama.
Yeah.
Right? And then the other person, you get tired of feeding that on a regular basis. And then this other person can start getting resentful to say, well, when's it going to be my turn?
Yeah. So then if you're wondering in your own relationship, am I being needy or am I being vulnerable?
Right.
You have to, I guess, look at the expectation that you have of someone. If I tell someone I'm in pain and I'm hurting, am I expecting them to make me feel better or am I expecting them to just be there with me in my pain? Right.
Yeah. And I think because of our fix it mentality and our 5-second soundbite mentality of okay, we need an answer right now. If I'm struggling, you better do something to make me feel better right now. And we don't actually allow the time for the emotions to just naturally emerge and naturally clear, right?
Yeah.
It's we need it to happen right now. We can't wait the 1 or 2 or 3 days that it takes sometimes for things to just naturally move.
So then if you are the person that is there for your needy friend and they maybe don't realize that they're being really needy, I'm just wondering, how do you protect yourself from that, without getting sucked into it to the point where you feel resentful? Right?
So one of the things I tell my clients is that there's only 2 types of behaviors on the planet. There is a demonstration of love, and there is a call for love.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell us more.
So a demonstration of love, you probably know what that means. It's showing, demonstrating your love. Mm-hmm. A call for love often looks like that person's being the bad guy. So calls for love, we see this with bullying behaviors in children, right? The bullies are calling out for love. They're calling out for inclusion. They're calling out to be part of a social group, and they don't know how to do that. And so they do this in this really over-the-top kind of aggressive way. But what they're looking for is connection.
Yeah.
But the way they get it is a really dysfunctional way.
Maybe they're being really aggressive or angry.
Yeah, because they don't have the skill set. So
they're
called
I need you to include me so that I feel like I'm
exactly, because they're 12 or whatever,
yeah.
right? So, and there's adult bullies too who do the same.
Yeah.
And so when we're around those types of people, if we could frame that actually as a call for love, now I get to respond from a different place, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I have to solve their problem or that I have to put up with that behavior, I have to be hurt by it, but I could say, oh my gosh, this person is in pain and that's why they're behaving this way. And how could I, in my integrity, respond to this call for love? And sometimes it's something as simple as just sending our blessings and our prayers and our good thoughts from a distance, which is fine, right? Sometimes it's actually showing up and doing something. And you have to kind of gauge it in the moment.
Yeah.
So then if you're the friend of that needy person, to ask yourself the question, right now, is what this person is doing a demonstration of their love, or is it a call for love? And if it's a call for love, can I stand there and just love them, not fix it, not solve their problem, but just love them anyway? That's what therapists do.
Yeah.
Right? They sit with the person, they sit with you, and they just see you as whole. They see you as having the potential to heal your problems. They hold that vision for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, totally. And also when you have a friend who's very needy, also to recognize yourself that no matter what you do, they're never going to be fulfilled by your love. So you can't just keep pouring and pouring and pouring out your own love at your own expense.
No.
Because until they're ready and until they're ready to love themselves and understand themselves, they're never going to feel that love.
Exactly. Right? It's like a sieve, right? One of those a colander, right? That you put the pasta in, the water goes through. It's you just keep pouring water into that thing. Well, great. You're using up all this water, but where's it going? Down the drain.
Yeah.
Right? And not to say we shouldn't love the people who are in that space, but loving them and knowing that they're also on a journey, right? They're also on a journey of self-discovery, a journey of self-acceptance. And until they're able to turn it around, look in the mirror and say, you know that Michael Jackson song, Man in the Mirror? I'm starting with the man in, or the lady in the mirror. They have to do that work. And some people are never going to do that work, ever. And so then it's about choosing who you want in your circle.
Yeah.
Right? And being... I taught a class, and the reunion was yesterday. And one of the ladies there, she told me that she's let go of friends that she's had for a lifetime because she's starting to get accountable about her life. She's starting to move in a direction. She's starting to realize her worth and what she deserves. And they're all stuck in that old story of, well, you're not going to be able to do it. Why do you even want to do it? That's out of your scope. That's too big for you. And there are those voices. And she's had to say, okay, so if I'm listening to that all day, what am I starting to believe about myself?
Oh, yeah,
right? And she's had to kind of very graciously and with honor and dignity, kind of let them go.
Yeah.
Just let them go.
And even if it's not such a formal thing where you're telling them, like,
listen,
I
I'm
can't really be
purging
around
you
right
out of my
now.
life.
Yeah, you're bad for me.
You're a negative voice in my head, and I need to purge that. You don't need to.
Yeah, you don't need to do that. It could just be a choice to listen to yourself instead of listening to them.
Right.
So to focus on your ambitions and what you want out of your own life, rather than letting that old story get in. Because we all have those people in our life who think a certain way about us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so easy to fall into that trap of believing them.
I know.
They haven't lived your life.
Maybe you were like that 10 years ago. And so they're still relating to you as that old self, but that's not who you are anymore.
And maybe you never even were that,
no.
and they just want to think that about you, right? Like, it could be anything.
They see you as the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah.
And no matter what you do, you're like, no, I'm just a normal person. They're like, I see the green. I know you're the Wicked Witch. And like, well, actually, I'm a nice one. No, you're the Wicked Witch. So no matter what you do, that's called scapegoating, right? In psychology, we call that scapegoating, where somebody's like the bad guy and always the bad guy, no matter what they do or what they try. Their family or their community, their friends, they see them as the bad guy. And it's like, it's really hard to get out of that role. So one of the tricks to do is for women, so for our women viewers, when you're under stress or when you need support, often you'll pick up the phone, right? And talk to someone. Think about who you're talking to, because there is that girlfriend that you have who will say, oh my gosh, that's so hard. How can I help you? How can I support you? There's that other girlfriend that will say, well, what do you expect? Well, if you're going to do that, of course that's good. Like, we have different types of voices in our life that are going to give us different feedback. Right. And so being deliberate in who am I going to call right now who's actually going to give me what I need, right? I don't call my girlfriend who's going to, like, slap it in the face when I'm feeling really, really tender, right? Yeah. I'll call her when I'm feeling lazy because I need her to, like, get me going. When I'm feeling tender, I'll call that girl who, like, oh, how can I support you? I'll call that person for that period of time. Right?
So then just being aware
being
of
deliberate.
Who your friends are and the voices, like what their voice means to you.
Right, and how you're welcoming that. Like, sometimes you blame the people around you and say, oh, well, they're putting me down and they're doing this. But you're also giving them access to you on a regular basis. Yeah. Right? Like, one of the things we were talking about before is, I have certain friends and family members who I actually ask other people not to talk to me about them, because I can't handle it. It hurts me too deeply. It's too hard for me to hear their struggles. And so for a period of, not for the rest of I'm not going to be dramatic, but for a period of time, like, for example, when I was pregnant with my babies, I said, I can't really deal with your drama right now. I need to just remove myself. Or when you're planning a wedding or launching a business or whatever, like, you need to focus in on what you need to do and not be distracted and have these other people not only tell you their problems, which is okay, but then tell you that you're not good enough to do what you want to do. That's where the clincher is.
Yes. And when you put those boundaries around yourself and you're very deliberate about, okay, this is what I need right now, you will notice that the people that will support you will show up.
They show up.
Suddenly they'll be there.
Yep.
And you'll be able to see that,
it's
okay,
almost
this
magical,
person,
right?
Yes.
It's like miraculous.
Yes. This person is with me through thick and thin, and these other people who maybe I thought were going to be with me are not.
They're gone.
Yeah. Yep. And so you realize in that moment, it's only when you act and put up those boundaries and say to yourself, this is what I need right now, and I'm worth taking that time.
Yeah, and I'm going to do it for me.
Yes.
Right? There's no point of talking about how the world should treat me better if I'm not treating myself better. If I'm not eating right, if I'm not exercising, if I'm not, making sure I'm reading things that are filling me and fulfilling me, if I'm not spending quality time with the people I love, if I'm not doing those things, I can't expect the world to look after me. I need to look after me first.
So then knowing your worth is really about knowing what you need at that moment in time and that you deserve to have the things in your life that you want to have in your life.
You deserve it.
So when you know that and you start treating yourself in that way, suddenly everyone's treating you in that way too.
Right.
And the people that aren't are gone.
They drift away. Oprah, like when I was like 15 or something, Oprah said this line, and I'll never forget it. She said, "You teach people how to treat you."
That's so true.
You teach people how to treat you by what you put up with, by what you won't put up with, by how available you are when people have, drama. Like, you're teaching people how to treat you. So then don't blame those people.
And there will always be the people that will scapegoat you. Like, they'll say that you're the problem and whatever. But if you don't put up with their crap, if you just, like, set your boundaries and say, okay, this is, like, I need to love myself right now, so I'm actually not going to let your voice in today,
Yeah.
Then they're gone. And you can just be okay with that.
And sometimes that's what you need. Sometimes it's damage control, right? Sometimes, it happens, and then you have a choice. Then you have a choice to, like, sit there for the next 2 days being miserable, or connecting with someone who can be the antidote to what just happened, right?
Yeah.
Reach out and call someone who, or do something. Like sometimes it's calling someone, sometimes it's doing something like going for a run or doing some journaling or, whatever it is that makes you feel good as an antidote to that hook or that barb or that pinprick that you got.
Yeah. And so then it really becomes about like when sometimes you'll find yourself cycling downwards and you'll realize that you're starting to believe all the things that other people are saying about you or that you imagine other people are saying about you.
Don't believe it.
And it can take a while, right? Because you're in that. You're so in that zone that you start to believe it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have to remind yourself. Like that's what the show is all about, reminding you that if you're thinking anything negative about yourself, if you're not believing in yourself, if you're thinking that maybe you don't deserve to be happy, maybe you don't deserve good things.
I've heard people say, maybe it's not in the cards for me.
Yeah,
maybe
screw the cards.
Screw the cards! Who made these cards? What the hell? Like, when my grade 6 teacher used to say, if it's meant to be, it is up to me.
Right. That.
If it's meant to be, it is up to me.
Shout out to your grade 6 teacher.
Go Mr. Kraft. Like, I learned in grade 6 that I've got to decide what I want. And some of the things like, well, how am I going to find true love then? Like, I can imagine somebody's watching this saying, well, yeah, that's easy for you guys to say. You've already found your life partner. Mm-hmm. But what about me? I'm sitting here single, waiting, wanting it, but I don't have it yet. So what about me? Jena?
Well, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. So I think that means showing up as the person that you would want to be with.
Okay,
right?
And here, we got to talk to you now about ice cream.
Ice cream.
Because, we love food.
We love food.
So, if you actually want what you say you want, you have to be honest with yourself to say, am I showing up as me, or am I showing up with this mask of what I think people want to see?
Because if you have the mask on, then no matter what love is being thrown at you, it's going to just hit that mask and bounce right off. It's never going to get to you.
And you could be surrounded by people and feel like, oh, but why doesn't anybody care about, I don't feel like anybody really gets me, and I don't really have connection, even though I have all these people around me. So the challenge is to ask yourself, well, am I really vanilla? Here's the thing. You have probably been pretending to be vanilla. I know because I've pretended to be vanilla in the past, right? So we pretend to be vanilla, which means we want to blend in, we want to be liked, want to be accepted.
You want everyone to like you,
so you do what you think. You do what you think it'll take for people to like you.
And when people ask you a question, sometimes you think, oh, what should I say?
What's the right answer?
What do people want to hear?
Right. What's the correct thing to say here, rather than just like blurting out, right? And actually, our entire socialization, our entire training has been, be a nice girl, be a good boy, be friendly, get along, play nice, share. Like, that's the socialization. And so often that part of you that's like a little bit sassy or a little bit like irreverent, like who gives a whatever, right?
You just crush that right out.
Just they push it out of you so that we can all get along.
Yeah.
And everybody becomes vanilla. And at some point in your development, in your adulthood, you'll start feeling like, I don't want to be vanilla anymore.
And I'm not vanilla.
I'm not even vanilla. Like,
I'm trying so hard to reach some ideal that I don't actually want to even get to, right?
Yeah. And so you start looking at yourself, and what I said was, okay, well, if I was honest about my flavor, what flavor would I be? And I realized, like, I'm peanut butter chocolate chip.
She's totally peanut butter chocolate chip.
Like, I'm a little bit salty. Not everybody likes me. Some people love me. Like, they're like hunting for me. They're like looking in every ice cream store. They're like, do you have it? Do you have it? Do you have it? Do you have it? Some people really want. Other people, they could do it or not do it. And there's other people who are like, no, I don't like that. Mm-hmm. And I just had to accept that this is who I am.
Yeah.
And when I accepted that, suddenly my life started transforming, right? The way I showed up started transforming. The way the way I physically looked started changing. My style, my personal sense of style started changing because I could own the peanut butter chocolate chip. And I realized that it's a smaller group of people who like that. It's easier to be vanilla because more people like you, but they don't even know you because that's not even you. And so now what happens is people who really like peanut butter chocolate chip, they find me somehow. It's like they're drawn to me, right? Yeah. People who like vanilla, they just pass me by. Whereas before I was getting all of these relationships, friendships, business partnerships that were vanilla. And it, like on paper, they say it looks good on paper.
Yeah.
But there was no connection. There was no fire. There was no.
You notice that something just feels off. Like no matter how much you get and how much you have, you never feel fulfilled because it's not really you.
It's not really you.
It's not really your life. It's
right. It's the vanilla life that you were pretending to have. So I talk about this with many of my clients who come to me and I say, like, have you actually thought about what's your flavor?
Mine's chocolate mousse tracks.
Chocolate. What's in chocolate mousse tracks?
Okay,
What are
so
the
it's
dimensions?
Okay, so the original is mousse tracks, and that's vanilla with like this fudge in it and these tiny peanut butter cups. Okay, so
that's why we like each other. There's some of the same
peanut butter. I know
the peanut butter. Okay,
and so I would get this regular mousse tracks, and I would like hate all the vanilla. I just leave it to the end, and I would just eat it because I felt like I had to. Because then I would just buy chocolate. Like if you just want the chocolate, just buy the chocolate.
Right.
Then one day, recently, I found chocolate mousse tracks. So it is delicious chocolate ice cream and this fudge and this peanut butter cups, and it is like perfection in a bowl. Sometimes it's too rich. Sometimes it's too decadent. It's freaking delicious.
And sometimes Jenna's a bit too rich for people.
I'm just so rich.
Too much for people. It's just too intense for people. But okay, that's all right. That's all right. They can have their vanilla.
Exactly.
With a strawberry. It's all right. We need vanilla. We need a couple people to be vanilla.
People need to be vanilla. Yeah,
some
that's
people.
True.
You might be
it's
vanilla.
It's a good base.
It's a good base.
Yeah.
But you're probably not vanilla. If you're
not.
vanilla, you're probably like French vanilla
or
vanilla bean, or like a yogurt version, or like a gelato version. Like you're not just plain old vanilla. Nobody is.
I'm getting really hungry.
We should go for ice cream after.
We totally should. So, we know our flavors. And when you remind yourself to show up as your flavor, suddenly the world starts opening up.
Right.
You're being authentic.
And I think that's very closely linked to worthiness. Because you can't know that you deserve something if you don't even know who you really are.
Yeah.
Right? And who, like, what your value system is and how you want to show up in the world.
And sometimes it's not even about who you are, but it's like, who do you aspire to be?
Right.
Right? Because how do we really know who we are?
Who
like,
knows?
You know, it's very
confusing. Boy, I'm like in this moment, maybe.
Yeah. But when you think about, okay, if I was the version of myself that I know that I can be, what does that look like?
Right.
And how does that person act? And when you put yourself in the shoes of that person that you want to be, like 5 years down the road, suddenly you realize, I could be that person now.
Like, why wait around?
Why?
Just do it now.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I'm saying. Just do it now.
So when you can accept yourself and be authentic, suddenly your worth becomes very apparent.
Right. And the thing is, what I've noticed is that people are gravitating to us because of who we are. Mm-hmm. Not because of what we've achieved or who we're married to or our profession or our bank account, right? Those might be nice bonuses for them, but really they're attracted to getting to know us because of how we show up, who we are.
Yeah.
Right?
And when you're being that version of yourself, you attract the people that really want to see that. Whereas if you're being vanilla, maybe you are attracting those people that just want to see your bank account or just want to, have access to your awesome husband or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
He's pretty awesome.
It's awesome, I know. Mine's good too.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome too.
We're lucky.
We're so lucky. Yeah. But it didn't just happen through luck.
No.
It happened through hard freaking work.
It happened
like self-reflection
showing up.
And just dumping the old heartbreaks. Saying, I'm not going to let that hold me back anymore.
And you'll notice if you look into your past and your past relationships, it's possible that when you were vanilla, you were attracting vanilla, right? Which
people
is why
like
those
vanilla.
Relationships don't work out.
No, because they don't even see you.
They're not, it's not people that are attracted to you. So that's why, going back to what you were saying about someone single who's saying, well, how do I just find that person? It's really through showing up as who you really are, as quirky, unique, show, have bad hair once in a while. Who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah, just be yourself. And that's when that person comes to you. This seems very generic, but it's not, is it?
Well, I think it's one of those things that's easier to say than it is to do, right? Because if I've been living my entire life based on somebody else's script, and now all of a sudden I have to change my script, that's a transition period, right? Totally. If I've been told that, for example, with the single example, and I've been told men like women who are, this, this, and this, and I've been just focused on these 3 things because that's what I've been told men like, rather than just being who I am and trusting that the guy who loves peanut butter chocolate chip will find me, then it's a mind shift, right? To say, oh, but everybody said that that's what a man wants, and so that's what I've been trying to do. But maybe it's not even about that. Maybe your particular man that's looking for your particular partner doesn't want those things, want something completely different, and that's the match that's been made for you.
Yeah. And to be honest, even for myself, I'm in that transition stage, right, that we're talking about, where you're going from being vanilla to being your true flavor. And it's like an everyday process. It's not like it ever gets easier. I mean, it does eventually, but when you're in that transition phase, you have to really take a hard look at yourself and I think the biggest thing is deciding what you want your life to look like. If it wasn't bound by that, like, oh, I have to have this white picket fence and this house and this husband and these kids, and because that's what people do.
Mm-hmm.
If you just erase that image from your mind and decide, okay, what do I really want my life to look like?
Mm-hmm.
That's when you start to grow into your flavor.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that. Grow into your flavor. That's a book title.
Ooh.
Jenna, are you going to write a book?
We will write a
We'll write a book. Grow into your
writing.
flavor. I love writing. So this is
I'll audio write it.
You could do the voice part of the book.
I do that. Well, sometimes I will actually talk into my microphone and it takes notes for me. Because I just don't like writing.
Why didn't I know about this? Because I like writing, I guess.
You like writing.
I never researched it, yeah.
So grow into your flavor.
Grow into your flavor. Just grow. And once you grow, as you're growing into your flavor, you start seeing that you're worth it. You're worth having all your dreams come true. Like, there's no need to wait. There's no need to, delay. It could happen today.
So maybe a good starting point would be to think about what you're trying to do to get love. Like I was telling Saira before this, that I work hard. Like I work really hard. And I think that the harder that I work, the more love I'm going to get. But it's a mask, right? Because if I think, oh, if I can be high achieving, people are going to love me. But that's not how it works.
No.
Because even if they're loving me, they're hitting against that mask, right? Because it's just hardworking Jena. It's not real Jena.
Right.
You know?
And for me, mine used to be, the more I can help people, the more I'll be loved.
Yes.
Right. So then it's this like helper Saira that's nice. I like her. But that's not the only part. There's all kinds of other parts. There's a part of me that doesn't want to help you at all. It doesn't really give a shit.
Yeah. Hell
Right?
yeah.
Like, just like, I'm just really interested in, like, reading my own book right now. I don't really care what's happening around me.
Yeah.
There's that part of me, too. And so, if people are only getting one side of me, actually, that leads to burnout.
Oh, God.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you're just, like, you're totally focused on this one aspect of yourself, and everything else that actually brings you joy and fulfillment and contentment is, like, somewhere on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get exhausted and you get resentful.
Yeah. And then even if people are loving you, like I was saying, they're hitting that mask and you're not really feeling it. And
Right.
so nothing's really filling up your tank because you are so busy putting everything out and you're not able to accept, what people are giving you back.
Right. So today's your day to understand that you're worth it.
Yeah.
To acknowledge your flavor. Maybe even like write to us about what is your flavor. You can write to us about things that you want us to talk about in future episodes too. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes. So grow into your flavor, recognize your worth, understand what you've been putting out to try to get love, and realize that maybe you don't need to work so hard at it.
Yeah.
Maybe you can just show up as you and experiment, right? See how that feels.
See how it goes. We'll see you next week for Today's Your Day.
Bye.
Bye.